As the prophet of esports, I rely on trustworthy and meaningful data every day. Data from our research partner YouGov offers the most complete view of esports fans and gamers in the world, providing context to who they are, what they think, the brands they buy, and things they do. YouGov's connected insights and research services inform strategy at every level. If you're a team, a brand, agency, or rights holder, you should be talking with YouGov. Their partners measure and maximize ROI and are telling compelling stories with data. Visit yougov.com/gaming-esports to learn more.
Someone else who avoided jail time, here's my segue, and was in cahoots with Martha Stewart. We have none other than Snoop Dogg in the news this week, guys. Snoop Dogg, the headline here, Snoop Dogg joins FaZe Clan's talent network and board of directors. So the hip hop artist and Death Row Records owner will represent the gaming giant as FaZe Snoop and participate in content creation, business initiatives, and launch merchandise with the brand. He says, he's quoted in the article that his son Cordell put me up on FaZe Clan. He's really tapped into gaming, Web3 culture, etc., and knew this would be something that I'd be into. I don't think there's any financial, details that have been disclosed, so we don't know what they're paying him. But he's going to be a consultant to FaZe Clan. And, now they've got LeBron James Jr., Lil Yachty, Offset, and 85 members that include content creators, influencers, and gaming personalities. What do we think of Snoop Dogg going to FaZe? Lindsay, I know you have strong feelings on this one.
I mean, this is what FaZe does. They are a culture-oriented brand. I think that bringing someone on who has played a large part in kind of hip-hop and fashion culture is right up their alley. Do I think that this is going to be a smash success and bring in tons of revenue? I'm less sure, but I also don't think that it will lose money. I think that there's a lot of, Snoop Dogg is just, especially with the halftime show, I always laugh at the Corona beer commercial where the whole commercial is just him walking on a beach and handing out beers to people. It's like the coolest thing ever. Yeah. Jimmy, you feel that way too?
Can I ask a question, Lindsay, more specifically? Mm-hmm. Snoop Dogg, I would argue, maybe less familiar to the current crop of kids who are maybe in their teens, right? Versus people who are in their 30s today, who maybe grew up in high school and university with Snoop Dogg's music, right?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Well, so here's the question then, because now I'm curious to get your thoughts. Mm-hmm. Does this create more? Do we see, what's the larger number? The number of people who are Snoop Dogg fans who become FaZe fans as a consequence? Or the number of FaZe fans that become new Snoop Dogg fans?
You always ask this, and I think...
Love this question.
Yeah, you ask this every time there's a celebrity partnership. I think this depends on how it's done, but like the Corona beer commercial where all Snoop Dogg had to do was walk on the beach and look cool, and I remembered that commercial forever. I think that probably Snoop Dogg brings more fans into FaZe. I'm not completely sold on that because, like I said, it depends on how they go about the partnership and what type of content they create and how they distribute it and all that good stuff. But certainly the number of Snoop Dogg fans to me is way larger than the number of FaZe fans, and I think it's
really?
I 100%
I think so.
That. Yeah,
hard, really.
I'm curious. Well, I'm actually I should have looked it up before. I'm curious what's the difference in their...
Snoop Dogg has way, way, way more name recognition, but in terms of hardcore fans, I don't know if I necessarily agree with that.
I guess there's different categories. I'm definitely thinking more name recognition.
Snoop has 71 million on Instagram, which is kind of crazy. I know we're talking about FaZe collectively as a brand, which has a bunch of content creators, and obviously FaZe is probably bigger on YouTube than they are on Insta, but 70 is not small. I love Lindsay's point, right? Because Snoop is like a true OG in music. Anyone that watched the Super Bowl, saw Snoop perform, and he's still pretty relevant. The Corona commercial is a great example. I like how relevant he is in crypto space. Snoop has land in Sandbox. He has a utility NFT on OpenSea that you can use in Sandbox, is my understanding. And I think a lot of the stories that I've heard, at least out of Snoop Dogg's camp recently, have been things that I like raised an eyebrow and said, "Wow, like that's." He acquired Death Row Records, which was the old record label he was on with Tupac and Dr. Dre. So, definitely, I think hitting a new stride as far as his brand and his business are concerned. FaZe Clan is very much, like Lindsay said, a culture first brand, and they have no shortage of big flashy names to associate themselves with. What those names actually do for their value, I'm still not so sure. You see a lot of NFTs also that launch with Khaled and all these other quote ambassadors, and it doesn't necessarily affect their value. It creates a lot of hype. But at least with the NFTs that I've seen, it's kind of dumb money, right? And it's FOMO. It's not true investors or people that are part of the culture. And I think the hardest part with gaming, which I see a lot of in crypto, which is why I made the analogy, or at least the comparison, is this is a culture first industry. And so if you're not a gamer here, then you're not going to do well. Snoop streams on Twitch, right? We've seen him. I think there was like a multiple day period where he left his mic off and didn't know, and people were still watching him because it was funny. So I love his brand. I've always liked Snoop. I'm a West Coast kid, and he's a West Coast rapper, and I grew up on that kind of stuff. To Paul's point, I still think Snoop benefits more than FaZe does, just because Snoop is having a resurgence here, and he gets to benefit off of associating himself with the next young cool thing. And even though, again, he is absolutely massive and doesn't need their help, it's kind of cool to associate yourself, right, and kind of pass the torch, so to speak, or to just say, hey, this thing right here, you guys know me and my brand, and this thing right here is pretty cool. So I like that Snoop did that in esports in particular, though he should have probably done it for XSET. Just an unbiased opinion there.
Jimmy, Jimmy, you always have the best takes when it comes to kind of culture, the mix between culture and gaming. That's your sort of sweet spot. But bringing it back, I guess, to my sweet spot a little bit. Just and that would be, I guess, the business finance maybe side of things. This, you have to remember, they didn't just make him bring him on as a content creator. They're bringing him onto their board of directors, alongside their kind of listing as a public company. So I do think maybe they're thinking of this a little bit more from that perspective, where maybe it's a flashy name and it helps attract investors. I would probably disagree a little bit with that, but that might be one of the things they're thinking. And then he is, like you said, an OG in this entertainment industry. So when you're thinking about who to bring on as board members, you want people that can open doors, people that can build relationships, can kind of get you places maybe you couldn't go. And I think Snoop, we would all probably agree, has that network. So I'm not sure the question that we're asking of, hey, does Snoop bring fans to FaZe or not, is maybe the right one. Maybe it's, hey, does Snoop have the industry connections? Can he get them in rooms that maybe they wouldn't be able to get in? I personally think he does. But
is there any room FaZe couldn't have got in before this?
I'm just wondering where they couldn't go already based off of their name and size and the others that they're affiliated with, is my only question there. I think more than anything, we haven't heard anything about FaZe really since the SPAC announcement, and that hasn't launched. And I think we all criticize whether or not they were even worth $1 billion when they announced that. And I don't know, is this just solid PR in the meantime? There's some great comments in chat. I see Chris. Hey, Chris, I love that comment, and I know we'll get to it. Right? Is Snoop enough to fulfill the FaZe SPAC? Me thinks no. I agree with you there.
It doesn't hurt. The question is, what did it cost them? Right?
Right.
And maybe this is, I think the challenge FaZe has always had is it's this very flashy, high spend kind of business plan, right? You spend zillions of dollars bringing in big content creators, big names. And when you're private, access to capital with your FaZe is not impossible, but it's definitely tougher, right? You're always raising private rounds. When you're public, it's a lot easier. So it may just be part of sort of this, as they have easier access to capital, thinking about the kinds of big names that they can associate with their brand. I just don't know what this adds that they didn't already have before, right? It's not like they didn't have legitimacy in that world. It's not like they didn't have credibility in that world. It's not like they didn't have the right kind of, perception. So I'm not sure what Snoop brings other than more fans. So, that'll be interesting to see how this plays, like what he actually does. Maybe it's about merch. I don't know. Maybe it's about doing more with music. Right. There's a lot of directions it could take. But at face value, it's not obvious. Adam says Snoop fans aren't suddenly going to go out and become gamers. FaZe Clan can type his name in Spotify, though. That's true. I like that way of putting it. It's definitely easier for existing FaZe fans to find Snoop. Right, I think the bar there is lower to become a Snoop fan versus Snoop fans becoming gamers. Hardware Barbecue says FaZe Clan was involved in pump and dump cryptocurrency scam. This gives similar vibes. I hope they don't, but I wouldn't be shocked. They need to stop snooping for trouble. That is good. That deserves one of these. I mean, does anyone think this is maybe not totally legit? I don't get that impression. I don't think Snoop would.
Yeah. I think after the SPAC announcement, right? They're on their best behavior right now.
Yeah.
I think that pump and dump was a super valid concern with a lot of things that they were doing as recent as 6 months ago. But I think they're trying to run a squeaky clean operation here. It's really the only route or pathway left for them, right? How else are they going to? I mean, they're losing $20 million a year. How else are they going to justify what they're doing if not by going public?
Yeah. Hardware Barbecue says, heck, even Logan Paul is recently caught to do the same thing. And Ice Poseidon, list goes on. Yeah, I think to Jimmy, it's a good point, Hardware Barbecue. I think to Jimmy's point, there's going to be a lot of scrutiny given, the public listing. And so my sense is they're probably cleaning up shop, not doing more risky things. I would hope. If they don't realize that more scrutiny is coming, then unfortunately they can't be helped. Adam says now Snoop fans that are gamers might start liking FaZe Clan. So who really knows which will have better conversion? Yeah, and it might be impossible to know, right? That's hard to track and associate with any one particular thing, right? There's no way of knowing someone who follows their Instagram tomorrow followed just because Snoop changed his Instagram from Snoop Dogg to FaZe Snoop. Six Cannon says, had a conversation with a friend wondering who the next rapper to join an org would be. My money is on T-Pain or Logic. Surprised that Snoop was one of the first people. Lindsay, Jimmy, you guys have a thought in terms of who's the next big talent we see join an org? Next big rapper.
I think it's you can close your eye. You can have a board full of faces on it. Close your eyes, throw a pin, and it's equal for anyone that it lands on. I don't have like one that's on my short hit list. I think the ones that you're going to see are thematically going to be either rappers that they themselves game, that have children that are big gamers, or that have business managers or law firms or friends that are already doing stuff in this space, because it's very much a word of mouth industry and a who do I trust industry. What are they doing? Can I do that with my money too? So I think that's the way to kind of think about it. But if I were to pick a name out of a hat, yeah, your guess is as good as mine.
Yeah, I think the key for me is actually these folks having kids, and the kids being kind of that young, early adult stage in their lives. And a lot of them have the star power to go out and get their own sponsorships and deals and all that kind of stuff. And a lot of them are choosing to do it in gaming and bringing their parents on board then.
I'm curious what you guys think too in chat. Like, who's the next talent to, like, does FaZe sign 3 more big celebrities? Like, is that the play as part of their go public strategy? Like, do we know, like, do we think maybe they have 2 or 3 more in the bag? It's an interesting. Adam says, I guess it kind of depends on who approached whom first. Yeah. I mean, does anyone doubt that it's Snoop Dogg being paid by FaZe Clan here?
Well, yeah, I mean, he's definitely being paid by them. I would assume also that they approached him. I doubt that Snoop went to FaZe and was like, hey, you want to put me on your board of directors? Like, I just don't think that's usually how it goes.
Chris says, always interesting how we start to lose sight of esports for video gaming as a whole. I mean, Chris, I think this has been a conscious decision, at least for our brand, Business of Esports, that the strict definition of esports never made sense to me, at least. If we go outside and play basketball, you and I, we're playing a sport. I've said this many times. I hate that strict definition of esports, even though I acknowledge it exists. The big opportunity is gaming as a whole, not just pros on a stage. Tom says, yep, it is the kids, just like buying franchises for the big titles to keep their kids occupied. It's an interesting thought, right? Like that it really is about that if the kids of these big celebrities didn't exist and were not, in that world, that maybe, we'd never see a Snoop Dogg in gaming or involved in anything FaZe related. I love that that's sort of the push they all need.